What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of, I almost said Steelers to go, All Steelers Talk. I know it's Monday morning. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Noah Strackbine. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-1. Life is okay. They have a lot to learn, but they're winning while learning. We're diving into the offense, the defense, some changes to the lineup that may or may not be staying. And as always, we're answering your questions here on a Monday afternoon. Appreciate everybody who's adjusted to the time difference today. We'll be back to regular scheduled stuff, whether it's live or premiered throughout the week. It's just today I will travel at 4 o'clock to get over to good old Dublin, where there is lots going on and lots of content to bring you guys. Super excited for it all. Jacob, how you feeling, my friend?
Feeling great, man. I have less on my plate today than you do since I am
Beautiful.
not about to travel internationally. So, appreciate that you even have any bandwidth to have any words to spare or to share
Yes,
with
sir.
us today. But yeah, man, I'm feeling good. It wasn't the prettiest win yesterday, but a win's a win. And the Steelers are 2-1 as they are about to head across the pond. So, I mean, I can't really complain on my end. And I will tell you my musical recommendation of the day is I've been watching the TV show Peacemaker
Yeah.
on HBO,
Yes.
and the theme song for this new season by Foxy Shazam sent me down a nice rabbit hole this weekend. And were a band that I'm completely unfamiliar with, prior to watching Peacemaker. But if you're into some more of like modern rock and roll sort of approach, highly
Beautiful.
recommend. Good way to get into the new week, kind of really pushes you forward.
I love it. I love it. I will say my Monday mornings are pretty much all the same. I start it with it's like what's the drum that you see on TikTok sometimes where it makes like cool chime musics. It looks like a big giant bowl. You know what I'm saying?
I have no clue, but I want to hear you keep describing this.
It's what it is. It's what it is. And there's a playlist and it just is infinite. And it's like lofi, dude. It just gets me through my morning. It's nice and peaceful. I love it. I love that you're feeling good. I'm excited to travel to Dublin. Pretty fired up for it, actually. I'm pumped that I get to get out there early and to kind of see the land and see everything going on. I just got the email last night, actually, that there is a lot of Steelers stuff happening over there throughout the week. So I'm very excited to be able to attend all of that stuff and to make sure that I get eyes and ears for you guys. And then the game on Sunday, which I'm pretty significantly fired up for. Bags are packed. We're ready to go. I will say I've never traveled internationally for an entire week. I've never traveled for an entire week for work. So through a plane, I've driven to Indianapolis. I've gone to Florida for the owners meetings. Like, that's easy stuff. Couple of t-shirts, couple of pairs of shorts, you're good to go. But this is you can't forget anything. You know what I mean? You can't go to Best Buy if you forget your laptop charger. You're screwed. So packing right now has been crazy. I'm excited about it, but I also have a full suitcase full of just podcast stuff. So I'm we'll see if they let me through TSA. I'm pretty pumped for it. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football. The Steelers are 2-1, a 21-14 win over the New England Patriots yesterday. A game that I'm going to be very honest, and I've taken a lot of criticism this morning for it. I've also had a lot of people agree with me on this. I thought the Steelers played not well almost at all yesterday. You got 5 turnovers on the defensive side of the football. TJ Watt finally comes alive with 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Cam Hayward has a good game. I think you break it down, and it's a lot of very good moments defensively. The team stepped up when you need to step up. I kept looking at it saying the Steelers don't win this game against a good football team. And I think that the New England Patriots are better than anybody wants to say that they are, but the Steelers don't win this game against a good football team. Before we dive into the offense, I want to ask your thoughts because, again, like, I've only had mine for the last 24-ish hours, and I've had many people agree and many people disagree. What were your thoughts yesterday? You're watching that football game. You're watching it go down. You're watching the defense. I mean, saved the day time and time again in a game that was like, oh, this could have been, you could have scored 40 points with ease. And the offense continued to struggle and then put it together late when they needed to. What were your thoughts on yesterday's ball game?
I mean, overwhelmingly, like, or overhanging all of this is, a win's a win early in the season. So
For sure.
I feel confident that this team is making some sort of progress. I did really like some of the adjustments that they made. I mean, clearly, like, we're going to talk about them more on the defensive side of the ball here, but it felt like for the first time this season, the Steelers made some sort of efforts to change what they were doing, and it was based off of what was failing them in the first 2 weeks, and they made some slight adjustments. Now, as we talked about a lot last week, like, the biggest difference maker is really just, can the pass rush have an impact on the game or not? When it doesn't, it looks a lot like the first 2 weeks where they're giving up 30 plus points.
Yep.
And when it looks like it did yesterday against the New England Patriots, they're a stifling defense and they're a turnover machine. It was something that they needed to do. It was an impressive next step of progress for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but overall, I wasn't thrilled. I won't proclaim that they figured everything out. I don't think they fixed really anything, to be quite honest. I thought they just made well, I guess that's exaggerating. They made a couple of adjustments
Yeah.
that helped them, but I don't think this team has turned it around completely. Is I think the best way I want to phrase it. So a win's a win. I don't want to bash
Agreed.
them. You come out of Gillette Stadium, a place that they have historically been awful in, and they go in there and they
Yes.
get a victory. So I mean, that's exercising some demons there for Mike Tomlin's regime. That is, it's a win. So I'm happy about the win, but there is a lot more that they need to improve on in order to really become that threat, that contender that you and I have hoped they could become and have seen them possibly becoming. So,
I agree.
I think that's pretty much my overall thoughts from the game.
I agree. I like that, and that's the point that I did continue to make in my to go this morning. I will continue to make as well, is that the Steelers won. And at the end of the day, you're 2-1. You're sitting at top of the AFC North right now. Like, you keep pulling this out, great, but you're not a Super Bowl contender and you're far from it. And there were many issues that you were like, okay, you still have to fix these things. And it's not, can you fix them? It's, can you play better or well enough to fix them? That's what it comes down to. That's a perfect transition into the offense here. 21 points. They score 14 right off the bat. Things are looking great. You're able to run the football. Then instantly it all goes away. Everything goes away. You can't throw the football. You can't run the football at all. Jaylen Warren finishes with averaging 2.6 yards per carry. I mean, that's atrocious. And Jaylen Warren, I thought, ran as hard as he possibly could yesterday. The offensive line has gotten significantly worse from week one. You know what I mean? Broderick Jones was the problem in week one. Now there's 5 guys. I texted you yesterday during the game. Does Isaac Seumalo look terrible, or is it just me? It's all of them that do not look great for the Pittsburgh Steelers. DK Metcalf's doing some things, but at the same time, maybe not getting involved as well as he should be. Calvin Austin comes up with a play there at the end, but that's all he does. Jonnu Smith gets involved. Pat Fryermuth's dropping footballs and getting yelled at by Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the offense still looks really bad, really bad. Is it fixable? Like, do you sit here and say that this is what the Steelers offense is? And that, I mean, really, I think a better question is, like, was week one that we argued was not just a fluke. It was not just this is the Steelers Super Bowl, they got to fix it. Were we like, was that what it is? And or can they get back there in your eyes and actually have a performance like that again this season?
I feel surprisingly somewhat pessimistic about all of this right now. It seems like the Steelers offense might have been, or what we saw in week one was more of an anomaly than the start of what 2025 was going to be for this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. I am holding out hope. I don't want to totally bury it at this point.
Yeah.
The pieces still seem to be there for me. Like, I just think that there is such a problem. The one thing that I will say that I really have liked is they're a pretty efficient red zone offense so far. Aside from one interception against the Seahawks, they're 7 of 8 when they get to the red zone, and they've scored 7 touchdowns. So like they are finding ways to score in some key moments.
Yeah.
But something that I've written about I was writing about last night. I don't know if it's out yet or if it comes out later. I have no idea. Talk to my editor. It's Noah. And uh, about the Steelers offense, and I think something that they just kind of lack is like a killer instinct. Is I think there is something missing. Like if the defense gives you 3 consecutive, either turnovers or forces them to go 3 and out like the Steelers defense did in the second half, and
Yeah.
their offense comes away with nothing.
Nothing.
That's demoralizing. That's
Yes.
brutal. They
Yes.
have to find, like, I think if they had that killer instinct, the defense gives you the ball back several times in the second half. You run it down their throats, you run up the scoreboard, you make it so that that game is out of hand at that point. That's what a true contender would have done. Maybe not each and every time, but you don't just squander every opportunity and go 3 and out on 4 consecutive drives. The second half offense was just abysmal, and they have to
Abysmal.
find a way to balance out. You can't just score on the first 2 drives and then do nothing the rest of the game and expect to win that way. There has to be more consistency. So I don't know if they are going to ever be this 30-point offense again, this 4 passing touchdown offense like they were in week 1. I think that might be special. That might be rare occasions. I think they're going to be closer to what they have in the past couple of years, which is at times promising, but at times equally frustrating in their inability to find consistency.
Look, you are spot on. You have to find the if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to find the one thing. You know what I mean? It could be through the air, it could be through the ground. You have to find the one. It could be your tight ends. I don't care what it is. It could be short screen passes to DK Metcalf that turn into 7 yards. You have to have one thing in your arsenal to be able to say, okay, we just need to breathe. We need something to keep this thing alive. You know what I mean? You've gone 2 plays of awful execution. You've gone 3 drives of awful execution. You need the one thing that you could look at and say, this is going to work. We know this is going to work, and we need it to work just once, just so that we can get the momentum flipped in our favor, just so that we could start stacking positive plays. And right now, I think that's what it is the Steelers don't have that at all. They don't have. There is nothing offensively, or not one person offensively, that you could sit there and say, this is the thing that the Steelers offense can lean on to work. And until they find that, I don't necessarily know that they get any better than they are right now. Like I don't know if you could score 28, 30 points without having anything offensively to be able to lean on as your backbone. And I mean, every NFL team that's good. Drake May was that for the Patriots yesterday. And they couldn't get it done because Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson kept turning the football over. But Drake May was at the end of the day, if we need something to work, Drake May at least is going to run it 6 yards. He's at least going to get out of the pocket and make that work. Aaron Rodgers can't do that. There's no tight end that's catching the football like that. Jalen, it feels as if the Steelers want to make it a dump off to Jalen that gets them some yardage. And that doesn't work. Like, that can't be the one. So until they find that, and I don't know that they're going to, they're in a war. Like, they just can't. They're not going to compete with good teams. You're not going to go to Dublin next week and play Minnesota and win when your offense can't score 20 points unless your defense just stays the course, which is what they did yesterday. And this is a good transition over to there. 5 turnovers. Shout out Cole Holcomb starting that bad boy. I was so pumped to make that tweet, dude. I was so pumped to just be like, Cole Holcomb, good linebacker. Who would have thought? Derek Harmon's on the field. Brandon Eccles comes up with a massive play. The time of possession is bonkers in the Patriots' favor, 33 minutes to 26 minutes. And they go 4 for 5 on 4th down conversions, which, again, like, that's so alarming. That's so alarming. I mean, I'll just open the floor for you. I don't even want to ask if you're satisfied. What is your outlook on the Steelers defense after yesterday? Like, how do you view them? How do you view them this morning and moving forward?
I view them as basically I view them as a potential top 10 defense still.
Okay.
I think the the thing that I feel 100% confident in before I begin rambling is that Derek Harmon is sort of like a missing piece for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense,
Yes.
and the impact and trust that has already been placed in him to fill out the front seven of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is apparent, and I think kind of alarming that it took a rookie to make his NFL debut in order for, gaps to seem a little bit more filled, for the run defense to become a little more stout, to use Mike Tomlin's term, for the pass rush to finally be effective enough because someone was taking up space and the Patriots couldn't double team and triple team TJ Watt. That was the
Yes.
only, I haven't completely re-dive through the tape from yesterday, but like what seemed apparent on first glance was that it wasn't like a crazy heroic game from TJ Watt. They didn't do any of the things we speculated they might to free him up. They just couldn't triple team him like the Seattle Seahawks did. They would have Hunter Henry chip him on his way out, and then poor 34-year-old Morgan Moses was just on an island, and he just couldn't do much against TJ Watt. Like, it wasn't as if the schematics came together in such a beautiful, like, Dick LeBeau-esque way, and the Steelers are finally this like steel curtain once again. Like, no, it
Yeah.
seemed like Derek Harmon was a difference maker on the defensive line, and that freed up Cam Hayward in a really impressive way. That freed up TJ Watt in a real way. And then you have Cole Holcomb, who looks more and more comfortable and looks
Yes.
like he probably should be, the every down back for the most part in the middle there. And I think you have seen some slight adjustments that have helped for sure. Similar to the offensive side of the ball, there's been a little bit of progress. You have to acknowledge it. But man, there is still something that just feels entirely too reminiscent of how this team has performed the past couple of years. And I don't feel convinced that they have changed or fully turned over a new leaf like maybe I had anticipated through training camp.
No, and no. You give up 4 fourth downs. I don't care how many times you turn the football over. Again, like, I relate it to other teams. Ramondre Stevenson is known to fumble the football. It's a specialty. He's as good as giving up the football as he is actually running the football. Like, that's what he's good at. Drake May didn't turn the ball over a boatload of times. He turned it over once, should have been twice. And to be honest, the turnover that he threw, fantastic play by Brandon Eccles. Fantastic play by Brandon Eccles. You're looking at a defense right now that took a massive step forward, but cannot. And that's what that's what I keep preaching. And I will continue to keep saying is the Steelers have to look at this as a win that they need to get better off of. This can't be week 1 again. And that's what I fear the Steelers are going to look at this as, is go, this is a win. And our defense only gave up 14 points and they turned the football over 5 times. We're back. We're the bee's knees, man. This is exactly what we're looking for. You can't do that. Like, you have to look at it and say the Pittsburgh Steelers defense was good, but they have so much longer or so much further to go than where they're at today. And they beat a bad football team in the process of getting to that win. Like, they can't, you have to relate it to positive teams, to better teams. You don't beat Derrick Henry by saying he's going to fumble 5 times. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. He's going to fumble 5 times. We're certain of that. That's not going to happen. Like, it's never going to happen. You can't look at it and say, we're going to beat Josh Allen. We're going to make sure that they get 5 turnovers. That's how we're going to win. Again, you win the turnover game, you win the game most times. But you can't give up 4 fourth down conversions to Lamar Jackson. You don't win that ball game. You just don't. You win it against Drake May, and they have the one thing the Steelers defense has right now is the clutch gene to say, in those big moments, we're going to make a play, and that's great. But I'm nowhere near satisfied with the Steelers defense, even after yesterday. And that was the weirdest part, is like, you turn the ball over 5 times, you hold them under 20 points. Those are the golden rules of the NFL. You win the turnover battle and you hold them under 20. You should expect to win a football game. And that's what they did. And you're like, there it is, dude. 2 boxes. Check, check. But it just feels like there's so much to go. And I think the biggest part of it is just my worry in the coaching. It's my worry in Mike Tomlin to say he will ignore this. Like, history tells us that he will look at this and amp everybody up as if they just won the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. That's how he'll spend his week, completely ignoring the issues, because, again, that's what he does all the time. And that's, I mean, if this was the players, I think that they'd be not satisfied and everything be good. But the head coach makes me so nervous that I think I sit here with like a bad taste in my mouth, a bad feeling in my gut that it's going to go backwards because you can't utilize it in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of smirking as you were saying all that, because I think I agree with you 100%. There, like, the to me, this was not a game where, again, the defense solved X, Y, and Z problems, or this long laundry list of problems. Those are still very much present. The only difference was that they were able to create turnovers. And I don't want to be just dismissive of the fact that they were able to create 5 turnovers. Like, that's impressive. That is difference making. That is what they are paid to be doing as
Yes,
the,
for
highest
sure.
paid defense in the NFL. I just think if you are to just take it for what it was, allowing 14 points and creating 5 turnovers, you can very easily summarize it and, oversimplify it as, oh, this defense is back on track. And I think that is just the absolute wrong takeaway in this situation. It's a step forward in the same way that we've been saying throughout all of this today. Like, a win is a win. The same thing you were saying in Steelers to go. Like, a win is a win. Take the progress and don't be so jaded about, the negative whenever there is positive to acknowledge. I get all that. But if you think that the Steelers defense is going to continue to allow less than 20 points for the rest of the season, they got a rude awakening coming, because there's a lot of 30-point performances probably left here in the Steelers schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so terrifying. Again, we'll see what happens. We'll see if they make some changes. Let's talk Cole Holcomb. That's the final thing on our agenda today. The inside linebacker change was immediately known, and I didn't even realize he was in the starting lineup until, well, Ramondre Stevenson dropped the football, and I went, who's that? Cole Holcomb, baby, he's back. Peyton Wilson continues to play at, I think, a pretty good chunk of yesterday. This was not all Cole Holcomb. And to be honest, Cole Holcomb did not have a perfect day. By no means a perfect day. He still has quite a ways to go when it comes to being able to cover, but maybe that's the best part about it, is where he lacks Peyton Wilson gains. And maybe that's the match made in heaven that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. I'll keep it very simple on this one. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers continue to use Cole Holcomb as their starting linebacker?
Yes, I do believe that he should be their starting middle linebacker alongside Patrick Queen, and I do think that Peyton Wilson should be a healthy and huge part of this defense still. The way I see it is that Cole Holcomb is essentially just a run-stopping middle linebacker. I don't want to see him in pass coverage, to be quite honest. I want to see Peyton Wilson in pass coverage situations.
Yes.
The problem, as we just mentioned a couple minutes ago, I don't know how confident I am in the coaching staff's ability to get those favorable matchups time and time again. When it works, it really works. It's Ramondre Stevenson fumbling the football because Cole Holcomb is a bruising, thumping linebacker. If he goes out in coverage, you're like, oh my gosh, holding your breath, just hoping that Drake May doesn't see him out there.
Yes.
Because he's just not a very versatile pass coverage linebacker. No fault to him. It's just, you have these pieces who I think really work and complement one another in the middle linebacking group, but you have to deploy and utilize them correctly. And if you don't, I think that's when offenses are already going to key in on that. They've already found that going after certain middle linebackers for the Pittsburgh Steelers is a good way to move the chains. It's a good way to find safety valve options in those situations. They have to be able to adjust from that now. And I think, all that being said, Holcomb should still be, one of the starters in the middle linebacker, but you have to just find a way to really balance out when he's in versus when Peyton Wilson's on the field.
You have to figure that out. Like, it was you saying, like, the second that they snap the ball and you realize it's a pass play, you're just like, damn it. This is going to be bad. Damn it. That's what it felt like. And I think it's the perfect what I liked And again, we just had a conversation about how worried we are about the coaching. What I liked is that Mike Tomlin said, you know what? Maybe we actually do need to put our run stuffing linebacker on the field a little bit more often against a team that runs the football quite a bit. Maybe that helps us. Probably. Oh, wait, there it did. And I think that it's a prime example that the Steelers need to continue to do this. They need to get Juwan Bentley involved at some point over the next couple of weeks to make sure he's up there as well. But you need to have options. And you saw it. Like, Patrick Queen had a couple of nice plays in the run game yesterday, but in those plays where Peyton Wilson was in there during those run games, he was always a step or 2 steps late. And you're like, you can't have that. Cole Holcomb's not 2 steps late. On the other side of that, though, he is a problem in the pass game. And again, like, you just have to be able to be advantageous in this. Him being out there on 4th down is like, how did we get here? You know what I mean? What did we, they threw the football on 4th down 3 times. And then they were like 4th and 1 again for the 3rd time. I bet you they run it this time. Let's put Cole Holcomb out there. A coaching decision, obviously, but one that you have to adjust to, that you have to be ready for. I make Cole Holcomb the starter, not every game, but anytime that you're playing a running football team, Cole Holcomb is my starter and plays a significant amount of snaps next to Patrick Queen until Juwan Bentley is in the mix as well, because I think he's a quality inside linebacker as well, and I think having him out there helps a ton to add to the group on the run down side of things. And then Peyton Wilson, just let him continue to develop. I said this earlier in the day that you drafted Peyton Wilson in the 3rd round. There's nothing about him right now where you're like, I can't believe he's not the 3 down every down linebacker. Like, no, you drafted him a year ago in the 3rd round. His rookie season was nothing to call home about and be like, Mom, dude, you will never guess who the Steelers just got. Like, you're not even seeing this guy on the field. It was nothing. It was good, but it was nothing crazy. There's no reason for them to tie their horse to him as much as they did. Pull it back. Let Cole Holcomb get out there. I think it works so much better. And then let Patrick Queen be your 3 down guy and go from there. I'll top it off with this one real quick. I think we're both in agreement on this one. Jabril Peppers should never step off the field until Deshaun Elliott is back. Am I wrong there? Because I'm sorry, but Juan Thornhill is going to be the 4th best safety on that roster when Deshaun Elliott comes back, without question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Juan Thornhill's I just don't think he's going to be a big contributor once they have a fully healthy arsenal. And I just think Jabril Peppers, just what an impressive performance, just very quickly. I think he was a very big difference maker in all aspects of the game, and I will be very upset if his role is diminished once Deshaun Elliott is healthy. They have to find ways to continue having him on the field. So I agree with you 100%, dude.
Every time that Juan Thornhill was on the field, you didn't know because you were watching from, the broadcast, obviously. And then you knew immediately because he was 3 steps behind the guy catching the football. And you were like, awesome. That's awesome. That's what it felt like. So I agree. Jabril Peppers had a good game yesterday. Well earned, well deserved, and he needs to continue to be out there 100% until Deshaun Elliott comes back, which hopefully is in the next week or 2. All right. With that said, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to start answering your guys' questions, so toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can. First, we got a quick word from our boys over at DraftKings. What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming. You can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers who bet just $5 get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. Then use your bonus bets to stay in on the action with DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And don't worry, if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you're fine. You can still join in on all of the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. New customers bet $5. That's $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Sign up using my promo code ALLSteelers and get in on the action today. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. All righty. A shout out to our boys over at DraftKings. Did not bet this weekend, only because I ran out of money in my DraftKings account on Thursday because we lost again. Shout out, my guys. Eat me dry. We're keeping it alive. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. Shout out to our super chatters. Shout out to our members. And once again, thank you guys so much for jumping on to an early edition of All Steelers Talk. I'm pretty pumped to get on the road. I got it's not vacation brain. It's like you know, when you write your schedule in the morning, the morning that you're leaving for the vacation, maybe I'm the only one that does this, but I map out
you hand write out what you're going to do.
Oh yeah. Not on vacation. The morning before I leave. I map out every day to the minute, but
I do something similar-ish, not the exact same thing, but I'm with you. You got to make sure you're prepared and have all your ducks in a row. I got you.
For sure. By the time you get through them and it's I don't know, 11 a.m. and you've done 75 things, you're just like, I feel like I've lived 10 years today. This is pretty awesome. This is pretty awesome. Thankfully, I will sleep for what is 9 hours on this plane tonight. So I'm pretty pumped about that one. And then I'll wake up and it'll be 8:30 and you guys will still be sleeping and we'll be having a day, brother. I'm pretty pumped. Plus, I'm super excited to do some podcasts live from good old Dublin. All right. Let's start answering your questions. We're going to start with Carl, Mean Cup of Joe Green Bean Salad. Spackler here. The hardest truth to swallow right now. The Browns defense is exactly who we were supposed to be this year. I only saw highlights of the Browns game yesterday, but I will say the Browns defense does look good. Myles Garrett looks very good. The defensive front looks crazy. I think the biggest difference is the Browns defense is significantly younger than the Steelers, and maybe that's what's going on. But anytime you have to compare yourself to the Browns in a negative light, I think it is a hard pill to swallow. Did you see anything from Cleveland yesterday?
A little bit. I definitely agree they're younger. I think they're definitely a step quicker than the Steelers so far. But that's plenty of praise for them.
That's right. That's all we'll say. That's where we'll end the line on that one. I appreciate that one for sure. Poke Salad. A win is a win is a what the hell are we doing? Stop throwing the ball backwards. Also, any chance Jacob will be doing the call-in shows this week? I'm still actually I'm still rocking everything, but it does feel like everybody wants you to do the call-in shows. I think people might hate me. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm taking this as. I'm totally joking, Poke Salad. But I will still be, I got a whole suitcase right here packed to the gills on podcast stuff. So we'll still be rocking everything. My wife won't be too pleased about it when she realizes that our vacation to Ireland is a work trip. But, she'll learn that over there and we'll be fine and everything will be okay. But we'll get Jacob on a call-in show soon. We have so many call-ins anymore that we're definitely going to have to keep splitting them up. So maybe I'll toss Jacob on there. However, Jacob's show part 2 drops tomorrow morning at noon Eastern time. So make sure that you guys are there for that one. Caden, Chuck Clark has bricks for hands. This part is true. However, okay, I look at it and say, I would rather have Chuck Clark out there with bricks for hands who can't catch, but could keep up with guys and tackle than Juan Thornhill who can't do any of those things.
Yeah, I think Juan Thornhill's biggest contribution to the season is probably going to be the fact that he called them, the one of the best defenses of all time. And I don't know how much more on the field will come from him, but I really have liked what I've seen from Chuck Clark. Just from the moment he stepped onto the practice field in St. Vincent, he has just been just a ready to play veteran. So, it's a great thing because I'm not genuinely thrilled with the safety position in Pittsburgh right now. I think it's just been, I think it's hard to feel great about it without Deshaun Elliott on the field, but Chuck Clark has been a nice addition this year.
For sure. Just too many heart offering a little feedback here. No, we don't hate you. We just want to see Jacob more often as well. He's family. Appreciate you, brother. I'll just take that as, you know what I mean? It's like when your mom's like, no, you're doing great. But your brother.
More of your brother's games.
Steven, I love you, man. I love you. Tortellini salad, AST gambling group on DraftKings. I don't know if I'm allowed to condone this. You know, I feel like legally we might run into some trouble of like, well, all Steelers talk told us that we should be gambling this. And, you know, it's a family friendly show. And I have to treat this just like I do fantasy advice. Okay. I am an awful fantasy football player. Like maybe the worst ever. So I can't justify helping people gamble. You know what I mean? Because I'm so bad at it that it doesn't work out well in my favor. You know, I'm bad at gambling. I'm bad at fantasy football. I feel like giving advice at both of those. That'd be me like trying to tell you about crypto. You know what I mean? Like I have no idea. You know, I'm bad at it. I'm really, really bad at it. So plus Jacob doesn't gamble. So, you know,
he's true. I'm a puritanical boy.
He is. He hasn't become a degenerate yet. He's new to this. You know what I mean? He's only a couple of years in. It hits eventually. Just too many hurt. Doesn't Tomlin not letting serial killer attempt a long field goal at the half a showing of living in his fears and not trusting his kicker? Of all the crazy things that happened yesterday, Mike Tomlin deciding to punt the ball at the 50-yard line was wild to me because there must be some like Chris Boswell going for 100% on field goals this season thing that we don't know about, because that's the only way that I justified that one, because I just don't. There was nothing about that was like, yeah, that was it. You know what I mean? That was a good decision. Sounds good to me.
Wow. The conspiracy theories are just flowing all around right now. Do you think if he gets a perfect field goal percentage, he gets like $30 million or something like that?
No, I just think it's like probably an NFL record or something, and Tomlin probably takes pride in that. And you know, Tomlin would love to be like, our kicker's the greatest ever of all time. You know what I mean? And I knew exactly when to send him out there. You know that he would love to do that. You know he would love to do that.
It's so awful.
That's true, though. It's so true. David, hey, Noah and Jacob, quick question. After last night's game, do we consider calling Giants about Andrew Thomas? I don't really know if Andrew Thomas, I don't know. I don't have a good enough analysis of Andrew Thomas to know if he's good, like first round quality, going to save things good. I will say that yesterday, the worst offensive tackle on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster was Troy Fautanu, and it was it was not even close. That was his worst game as an NFL player. Like, he looked atrocious. And Broderick didn't look good at all either. The second worst player on that offensive line was Isaac Seumalo. There were so many times where he was just standing there and the play was 3 yards to his right and he wasn't doing anything. I don't know what's going on with these guys. I have officially put it on Pat Meyer, though, to say, like, if Broderick is bad and Troy's bad, that's two really good examples that you should have hit at least one. And then Isaac's bad, that's a Pat Meyer thing. That's, you know, like, Isaac's a Super Bowl champion. It just doesn't make sense to me. What'd you call about Andrew Thomas, or what's your thoughts on the line?
I would not call about Andrew Thomas specifically, just because he has like a lot of like injury history. And that's what I was looking up while you were, because I was like, I'm pretty sure he had like a weird surgery last year. And he did have like screws put in his foot last year that had to be taken out. He's missed time a couple of different times throughout his career. I like the idea of, again, bringing in some more help. The tackle position has been a place of uncertainty, a source of uncertainty in the Steelers offense for a couple of months now. And, you know, I love Troy Fautanu, but that was a rookie game from him in every single capacity against the New England Patriots. And I think there is some better understanding about how he's very athletic, but you can get him crossed up kind of easily. You can get him to use his hands. You can get his hands out of the way pretty quickly. There's some things he needs to improve on. I'm okay with letting them do that if some other parts of the offense can come through and be a little bit more successful. But I don't know if those things can happen until the offensive line improves. Like, one of the things I'm thinking about when we were talking about the offense earlier is why is DK Metcalf do they just want to get him the ball only in the red zone or only on
Yeah.
screen passes, or or is there an inability to work the middle of the field, those intermediary routes, because there isn't enough time and protection? Like, is that something
Yes.
that they're just not even game planning for? I don't know. Or is it's a chicken or the egg kind of thing. So I think there is a need to improve the tackle position above all else. I still maintain there is not a clear answer outside of the organization, and their best chance of actually improving it are just letting these two figure it out and reach that next level. Will it happen? I don't know, but that's probably their best bet.
I agree. The Steelers are in a weird spot offensively where you have to fight the fire and kind of walk through it and hope that you come out the other side fine. But there's a more than likely chance you're not gonna. And that's the harsh reality of the NFL. But you can't give up too early, because you give up too early, you may miss something, and it might get way worse than, because you could ride, you know what I mean? You could turn it into a Dan Moore who's suitable for,
Mhm.
The fifth best offensive line. But what you can't do is, ride it to the point of like Kendrick Green, and I think you do have to find that. You do have to find that for sure.
Mhm.
Darian here, a moment of silence for Najee and James Conner. Najee's injury yesterday was brutal. So was James Conner's, but I hate watching Achilles snap, man. It is
Dude.
nasty. Yeah, it's just gruesome. That sucks. He's having a tough year, man. James Conner also, like, the Cardinals finally look like they're an okay football team, only to not be. That sucks. Moment of silence for them for sure. Carl, Mean Cup of Joe, Green Bean, Speckler. The only parlay I lost on a 6-way parlay was Packers beating Browns. Browns stopped me from $500. Damn. You bet on the Browns? Or did the Browns win yesterday? No.
Wait,
They did not.
and that's how they stopped him. Okay.
Yeah. That sucks. That does suck. This is why we can't have a gambling group, because it
Mhm.
just does not work in our favor. Poke salad, one more. Can anyone find the X page someone mentioned last week? I've looked twice. This is Coleslaw, I believe, who started this. I don't know if Coleslaw is in the chat. I'm also, he did not send me the link, but I know that he called back into the call-in show, so hopefully we have that figured out. We will try to get it, and we'll post it on the community page in our YouTube. Danny Smith in the Jigbo. What a phenomenal name and a picture. Wow. At what point do we start to hear Fire Tomlin chants at Acrisure? Do you think you ever hear those? Do you think you ever hear those chants?
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's like a rhetorical question. Yeah, like uh, this year's performance going to induce that? I don't think so in like a stadium wide cheer, but I also wouldn't be surprised if those chants already happened in very small capacity. Like, are you telling me no one said that against the Seahawks?
Yeah,
Like,
true.
I bet there was.
True.
I bet Donnie Dan Blonox was at the game, just being like, "Fire him, fire him! I run this team."
It's
That was
true.
happening. I
It,
don't know if it was 65,000 strong, but I don't think that will happen, because that would be wild. But never say never.
no, I agree. Never say never. I I don't know. I think a lot of people still. I think there's still a large chunk that say you got to fire Terrell Austin and Arthur Smith before you fire Mike Tomlin, without realizing that the tree in Pittsburgh starts here, and then the rest of it's just burning. So you just got to start at the top and kind of go from there. TCL Steals, is Roman still on the roster? Did absolutely nothing yesterday. I mean, I think I have a very simple question for you off this one. Is it time for the Steelers to seriously consider a wide receiver? Because we walked with it in week 2. We walked with it all summer. Calvin Austin caught one pass yesterday. That was it. Like, the tight ends are not what the tight ends were supposed to be. Jalen's not what Jalen was supposed. I mean, Jalen's good. Jalen led the team in passing or in receiving yards yesterday and receptions. That's when you know that's not okay. Is it time for the Steelers to start considering a wide receiver?
no, here's where I get hung up on this so often, Noah, is that like, yeah, maybe they need more talent, but why does the talent matter if this offense can't move the ball to them or if the offense can't find ways to incorporate them? Like, why why do you get a Jonnu Smith if you can't even target your tight ends 5 times a game? Like,
Yeah.
why do you have 2 tight ends who do better on volume if you can't provide that volume? Why bring in another wide receiver if you cannot even give them they can't even find a way to get DK Metcalf the ball 10 yards away from Aaron Rodgers. It's either a jump ball at
Yeah.
the goal line or it's a pass behind the line of scrimmage on a screen pass. So, like,
Yeah.
how is just bringing in, just throwing out a name, like, how would Chris Olave like really be the difference maker right now whenever Aaron Rodgers doesn't really have enough time to find that man? And when he does, I don't, there seems to be miscommunications throughout the offense. So I just don't feel confident that just bringing in a more proven talent solves that issue for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, I think I need to see some type of progress from the group that's there now before I would
Yeah.
feel encouraged by adding to it. You know what I mean? Like, until that
No,
happens, you're just like beating a dead horse, in my opinion.
I don't disagree. You are going to bring in another DK Metcalf to treat him like DK Metcalf. How does that solve
Yeah,
anything at
that's a
all?
great way of
Yeah.
putting it.
No. Yeah, you're spot on. Like that's you need to figure this out. And that's the thing in week 1, like you had a wide receiver 2, you had tight ends, you had a wide receiver 3 and Benny Sco. Like it's all
The magic
gone.
show.
The Benny Sco, the magic show. Why have we not come up with that until right now? Incredible. That's just what it is. Like you need to be able to figure it out with what you have before you could start looking other places for the Steelers. Otherwise, it's just absolutely pointless. Want to give smoked out Jeff is Jacob coming to the Park Place pub for the game? I did want to make sure I gave a shout out to my boy and to our boys over at the Park Place pub on Bryant Street in Highland Park. Make sure you're going there. If you don't have a place to go on Sunday for the game, bright and early, our boy says that he's cooking up breakfast sandwiches, I think 8:30, 9 a.m. And it's first off, let's start with this.
Yeah.
Best burgers and wings in Pittsburgh. Go best atmosphere you could get on a game day. Park Place Pub. We'll be popping that all week. So if you're missing it today, don't worry. You'll hear about it tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that. Shout out our boy over there. Shout out to everybody at Park Place Pub. Great environment, great community. And make sure that you're there on game day. I think 9 a.m. breakfast sandwiches. I mean, which like you can't go wrong with a breakfast sandwich. Especially a breakfast sandwich and a Guinness at 9 a.m. That's what I'm going to be doing. This is going to be a walkover. Here's my Guinness. Enigma After Dark. No Channing Fire Tomlin with a winning record. That's where the conversation ends. Is there are no chance with a winning record unless things are like blatant. You just don't. All problems aside with a winning record. You continue to win. And luckily for the Steelers, they don't play like a really good team for a minute. So unless the Vikings turn out to be really good with Carson Wentz, which I don't know, we'll see. But this is spot on. You don't chant anything with a winning record. You never do. Just too many hurt. Is the offensive line failure solely on the O-line, or is there any blame to be placed on Arthur Smith's planning and schemes? I'm sure there is, but I also I don't know. Without knowing exactly what the schemes were, it's really hard for me to watch Troy Fautano get beat off the ball time and time again and Broderick get beat off the ball time and time again and go, that was the play call. That was definitely the play call. I think it probably plays a role for sure. I think everything probably plays a role, but I do think that the offensive line, like the talent is just not, it's just not there. The investment's there. The talent is not showing up.
Yeah, execution's piss poor. That is absolutely for sure. It's not, man, I hate to be so like black and white, one dimensional about like the analysis, but like so much of what is also a problem. Yes, I think Arthur Smith's schemes are like maybe a little too cautious, maybe afraid of the big plays in some ways. Like Mike Vrabel described him as like, I forget the exact quote, but when he was talking about Arthur Smith, because they have like this long relationship, going back and coaching together, like he described him as like something about really being really good at like finding like safety valves and like quick
Yeah.
exits and things like that. And I was like, that sounds like the most backhanded compliment I've
Yeah.
ever heard about
You're
a
good at
coach.
being
Yeah, you
soft.
know what? Yeah, he draws it up to just have really bad plays and they break down. So he always has a guy as a safety blanket. That's my best friend, Arthur Smith. Like that's what it sounded like to me. But
Yeah.
I think there's some problems to that exist there, but those get mitigated. Those get absolutely erased if your offensive line has pushback at the line of
Yes.
scrimmage. If they are giving the quarterback more time to find open receivers, if they are giving Jalen Warren multiple gaps to jump through when they're
Yep.
rushing the ball, like Arthur Smith doesn't even have to game plan. He just says to yell hike, and then they just can move the ball. And I think like the offensive line, while it's not the only issue, it can cover up for what is also a problem so much quicker, and it can make things better so much quicker.
I agree. I agree 100%. Chef Salad. So, are we ready for the GP Crash Out Tour since it started yesterday? I don't know if anybody got my tweet, but it was just simply just saying, man, who would have thought that one? Who would have saw that coming? Who? Oh my God. Who would have saw it coming? Wow. That was, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd be throwing helmets too, but I think it was more so everybody. If you look around in the video, it's the people looking that were just like, "Whoa, all right, breathe it out there, pal. Let's breathe it out." Okay. Shout out to George Pickens, man. Shout out to George
I think
Pickens.
it's pretty funny how how I've been kind of I've bashed on the Chicago Bears a few times since I've hopped on this podcast. And what I was really impressed with yesterday was the way that the Chicago Bears just made their former head coach look
Oh yeah,
awful. Matt Eberflus works with the Dallas Cowboys
yeah,
now, and they made
atrocious.
that defense that he runs look so JV. It's crazy. I bet Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson were just having like the biggest celebration after that game because they just destroyed the real tough thing, real
Oh
tough
yeah.
day for GP, real tough day.
Oh, real tough. He's gonna have a couple of them for sure. Claudia, why did the Steelers bring back Pat Myers? He was still under contract, and as we know, and we do not agree with, but as we know, the Steelers never fire coaches during their contract ever. They let them run out. Pat Myers' contract ends at the end of the season, which means that there is a more than likely chance he will not return after the season. But he still had one more year, and the Steelers aren't going to move on from him. They never do. Like that's just what the Steelers do. Matt Canada was the first time almost ever that they've done it in Art Rooney II's tenure to where they've said, you know what, it's time to move on early. And it's the first time they fired somebody during the season, let alone after the season, that even when they change position coaches, it's always at the end of their contracts. So that's what it was. Nothing, they didn't re-sign him, nothing. It's just they knew as soon as the season ended, didn't matter. They were going to bring him back until the end of his deal. Things and stuff. New nickname, Noah 2 times. Can I get a? I agree. Look at you know what I'm saying? That's what we're saying. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Some people say,
Did you just Porky Pig it?
I just Porky Pigged it because I just like at the end of the day, I try to avoid the ums, and what I do is just say, I agree. I just say it twice. I'm a twice kind of guy. I say, what's up? Morning. It's just, I'm just two type of
red
guy.
for filth on that one.
Michael, hey guys, I know it's early, but how do you feel about Chicago? I'm going to the game this season, so I want to know whether I should be getting blasted at the tailgate or not. I think they look good yesterday. I think that yesterday was a one sample size that I am not willing to attach myself to yet, though. So I would say hold out. I'm always in favor of drinking a couple of brews before a football game. I think that's the best practice. But I'm not going to say that I'm looking at Chicago as a loss for the Pittsburgh. Not yet. Too early to look ahead, but a lot could change by November. I'm not looking at them as a loss just yet.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think beating the Cowboys is like an impressive thing this year. Like, I just don't think the Cowboys, they're very good. They traded away their worst player just because their owner is, hard-headed. So like, I don't, you're not going to be better based off of that. So I think maybe at the end of the year, we'll be like, well, yeah, the Bears did smash them, but the Cowboys were the worst team in the NFL. Like, I don't think that's a crazy thing to have happened over the next couple of months. That being said, if Caleb Williams keeps, the game seems like it's kind of slowing down for him. If that continues to progress, could be a really tough day for the Steelers secondary, especially the way that they have been starting out the season.
Yeah.
It should be fun. I would say just be safe whenever you go to the game, my friend. That's all.
Tortellini salad. Who would you guys want to replace Pat Meyer? That's so hard.
I have no clue.
To be guessing offensive line assistants that could now Mike Munchak. That's who the answer is, but he's not going to come. He's not going to come out of retirement. I just to know the offensive line assistant coaches out there that you should have to bring in here. That'd be so hard. That'd be so hard. You'd have to find some washed up offensive lineman because they make the best coaches and say you should come in here and, be the guy. But Mike Munchak's the answer there for sure.
I think you just reach out to the only answers I can even give that would make any sense or maybe fit would. I'm not going off of the washed up comment. I want to make that very clear. But former Steelers lineman, first name that popped up was first washed name that popped up was
God, I'm so excited for this one.
Zach Banner.
It's not a bad one. Not a bad one.
He wants to play to have around.
Yeah, I love Zach Banner as a person. He's just a blast to have. Blast to have.
Or Trey Essex.
Trey Essex is a good one. Trey Essex is a good. I think the Steelers organization might hate him right now, but
yeah, sure. Yeah.
He
Alan
talks a lot of
Faneca.
smack. Great one.
Throw a name out like that. That would be, I think, a solid adjustment. I don't think I could name any other who is an offensive specialty coach that is due for a promotion. That is who will be the offensive line coach next year. I don't know personnel that well.
No, especially when we get into that. I mean, for those who are analyzing that position and that availability, you, my friend, are better at your job than me. That's all I'm saying. You are better at this than I am, for sure. Enigma After Dark. How about moving Darnell into a fullback position? He'd open up a Grand Canyon right up the middle, or even QB sneaks with him under center. He'd probably hold the ball over the end zone too high to be batted out. I've talked to coaches about the Darnell playing under center type thing, and every single one. I've talked to current coaches and former coaches and even some players, and I have not had one person that says it would work. They've all said he's way too tall. He'll get thrown right. He won't be able to get low enough to be able to make it work. And as soon as he stands up, he's going to have everybody pushing him backwards. So that's I think it would be so awesome. The Steelers would not. From my understanding, the Steelers wouldn't consider it. Playing fullback though, again, he'd have to be able to get real low. Super low, which is that's the issue, is how many steps can you take before you're standing up? Because if you watch Darnell block, he's blocking at the line of scrimmage, which means that he doesn't have to, his leverage is already there, how long can you stay low to hit guys? That being said, if he could stay low, he'd open up the Grand Canyon. That's for sure. I think the leverage aspect of it when you're that tall gets really complicated. That's why fullbacks are 6 feet tall,
Yeah. No, then there's your physics lesson of the day, folks.
I do think it would be awesome. Maddie,
it'd be great.
Noah, and Jacob, what do you think we do in Ireland? We can't give away scores. It's too early. Mm-hmm. We're doing that.
We didn't get the script from the NFL yet either. So
that's true. That doesn't come out till Wednesday.
We don't get that till midweek.
Yeah. And I'll be in Ireland, so I'll get it before anybody, and I'll know. So just watch Wednesday mornings to go. That's what it is. Can't give away scores. I think the atmosphere is going to be cool, and I think the Steelers could feed off of that. But again, like I said all week or all episode long, I'm very nervous that the Steelers are using today and looking a little bit too happy at themselves and smiling a little too much in the mirror right now. Take the frown or take the smile, let's just straight face it. You know what I'm saying? And be a little bit critical.
Turn that
in
upside
situation.
down and then even it out. Straight face it.
Straight face it. Straight face it. All right, guys. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Thank you guys once again for jumping on to an early episode. And with that said, we'll be back tomorrow with me coming live from Dublin. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg.